Hello, everyone. After office hours tonight, with the questions that a couple of the students brought up, I want to send out some additional instructions on Lab 4, some things that may greatly help you out in getting through Lab 4. Okay. So let me share my screen here. Okay. All right, you're looking at my VM here, and I'm going to maximize this. And let's go to Lab 2 first of all. Okay, so a couple of things that came up in Lab 2. The common lookup table. The inserts into the common lookup table. Now remember that the common lookup table is the list of valid values. Okay, so that's why in the Lab 4 instructions you have to go and discover, right, the common lookup lab ID for the value that and insert that ID as the foreign key value, right, into your insert statement with the subselect. Okay, so a couple of things on these inserts. When you copy from Create Oracle Store and you copy those inserts into your Lab 2, they're not the same, right? The Lab 2 instructions give some different values here than are in the Create Oracle Store inserts. So Create Oracle Store is a template, right? It's a model, it's an example. A lot of things are the same, but not everything is the same. And so in Lab 2, you need to make sure that you have followed the lab instructions for what you are putting into your Lab 2 code. And specifically here, this context column, you note that the table names, you have some table names that are in here, right? System user lab and contact lab and member lab and item lab, and you need to have that underscore lab in your insert statement when you're inserting those values into the common lookup table. And also the number of inserts are not the same. So in the Create Oracle Store inserts, there is not a Blu-ray, and here in the instructions, one of the lines you need to make a Blu-ray, and then there's another line that's double tape or something like that you just need to delete that line. That should not be inserted into your common lookup lab table. Okay, so be aware of those things. All right. Now let's go to the Lab 4 instructions, and let me just scroll here to find where I want to be. So I went through step 1 as an example of how to do the lab, okay, and then step 2 are the 2 inserts into the common lookup table, and you should be able to do those. Let's go to the instructions for the member lab table here. All right, so one student tonight asks, asked about this sentence here. Some of the data values require that you look them up. You look them up in the Common Lookup Lab table. Then you figure out how to write a subquery to return the correct Common Lookup Lab ID value and how to embed the subquery in the insert statement. Okay, so I showed you how to do that in step 1. And the question was asked, well, when I look at this, I look at these instructions here, how do I know which ones I need to look up in the Common Lookup table? I need to do a subselect query in the Common Lookup table. How do I know which of these that I need to do that? And the way you do that is, and there are several ways, but one way to do that, I put the instructions here for Lab 4, and I'm going to go to Lab 2 and to the create table statement. Okay, so I'm going to scroll, let's see where I need to scroll to get to the create table statement for the member member table. It's not in this file, sorry. So if you go to the create table statement for the member lab, that's what I'm trying to get to here. You can look at, now you're doing an insert, right? And so the member lab ID, you see that the data type for member lab ID is a number, and we're using the sequence generator in NextVal to generate that number, right, for the lab ID value. And then you look at member type, and it's also a number. And when you look here, you see member type individual. And that's a character string, right, not a number. So you can't put that into, you can't insert that into the member table. That's a clue, right, that you are looking for something in a different table, right? You're looking for a value in the Common Lookup table. And the way you verify that, you look down here and you look at line 362 here. Member type, you see there's a foreign key defined here that member type references Common Lookup Lab ID. Okay, so Common Lookup Lab ID is a primary key that's going to be inserted into the member type here as the value, right, for the member type, because it's a foreign key. So you look here, you can see that, and you can see, well, what other values do I need to look up in the Common Lookup table? And just look at your foreign keys here. And here's credit card type, and that is there's another foreign key on credit card type to the Common Lookup Lab table. And you can see here that credit card type given here is a character string value, not a number value. So again, another clue, right, to match those things up. So member type and credit card type need to be looked up using the subselect query in the Common Lookup table, and that's how you know. Okay. Now let's go to step 4 here and look at the instructions in step 4. So as you insert into the contact table, you're inserting a contact lab ID using the sequence generator, the next val. And then the next thing you have is the member lab ID. And what is that? Well, that's a foreign key that ties this contact to a membership, right? And so we need to go get the number, the row number of the appropriate membership to put in here as the foreign key value. How do we do that? You need to look down here, and there are two example sample codes that Brother McLaughlin gives you. Okay. This first one is what you will use in step 11, and this uses curval. Okay. So when you insert into the contact lab, this second value, which is the member lab ID, the value, you will do member lab s1 dot curval, and that will get the correct value for you of the contact, okay, in step 11. But in step 3, you need to use this form of the insert, okay? So in step 3, you need to go to the member lab table and do a subselect query into the member lab table to get that foreign key value. And this is how you do it. Now in this sample code, Brother McLaughlin uses aliases here, and we haven't talked about aliases. So this M here is an alias, which is a short name for the member lab table. Okay, so don't worry about that for now. You can put this in just as he has it here. You can leave out the alias, and it will also work. But he has here, select member lab ID from member lab where the account number equals some string. Okay, and you just need to fill in that some string, the account number. What are we looking for? We're looking for the account number in the member table. So, so when you put that subselect into your contact lab insert, go up and look at the account number that you put into the member lab, X15-500-01. So in the first insert into the contact table, you want to have this account number equal that X15-500-01, and in your second insert into the contact table, which is so the first one for John Jones, second one for Jane Jones, you want to put that second membership number, X15-500-02, okay, and that will go to the member lab table. It will find the row where that account number matches. Then Oracle will grab that primary key, that member lab ID, bring it back, and put that value into your insert here into the contact lab table. Okay, so and you also see the lookup to the common lookup table. You've got that code here, right? That subselect query is here for you. All right. Now, I'm going to give you some help on the address lab and street address lab and telephone lab. Okay, so let's look at those here. You go into the address lab table. When you do that insert, what address are you inserting into? Well, you get the address lab ID, the next val, and then you need a contact lab ID as a foreign key. So what contact lab ID do you need? Now you're putting in the address for John James, right? So you can assume, for the purposes of our store here in this lab, that first name and last name uniquely identify a contact. All right, and so you will do a subselect query to the contact tables, right? Select contact lab ID from contact lab where first name equals John and last name equals Jones, and that will find then the correct contact lab ID to put into your first address insert. Okay, and then the second address insert, you do the same thing, but you go and look for first name equals Jane and last name equals Jones in the contact table, and that is the foreign key. You know, then you get the correct foreign key value for that insert. All right. Now, street address and telephone lab. Now, I said in my announcement, week 4 announcement, that there's some code. I give you some code to use in step 7, the telephone lab. You also need to use that code in the street address lab, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. I'm going to show you the code, okay? So we go into street address lab, and now we need to connect the street address to the address. And how do we then find the foreign key in the so the primary key of the address lab, which is the correct foreign key into the street address, and how do we do that? We're going to do a join here because we're going to go back to the address table and we're going to join to the contact table, and we're going to get the address for John for John Jones. We're going to get the address for John Jones and get that address key, but we've got to go back to the contact table to match on John Jones. Okay, so you're going, I'm confused, Brother White, and so let me show you the code. Okay. So here's the insert into street address lab. Okay, so you see street address lab S1.next val, and then here's the subselect, and so this involves a join. We want to get the address lab ID from the address table. We're going to join that back to the contact table. We join those tables on the contact lab ID, where, and this C stands for the contact table, that's the alias for the contact table, where the first name in the contact table is Jane and the last name in the contact table is Jones, and the city in the address table, that A is an alias right there for the address table. City in the address table is Draper, and the state province from the address table is Utah. Okay, so there's the code, and this is actually the second, well, it says first insert, so anyway, that's Jane Jones. That is the second insert. The comments here weren't updated. Going back up to the first insert, John Jones, and you do the same thing, so for John Jones and for Jane Jones. All right. there's the code for you. And for the telephone lab table, then it's the same kind of thing, right? So we've got the insert here, the telephone lab. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. You've got the first part up there, right? I'll show you from the values on down here. Okay, so telephone lab S1.next val, and then you need to insert a contact ID, and so you go to the contact table. So this is a telephone for John Jones, right? So you map back to the contact table to get that contact lab ID, that foreign key. And then here you need then to put the address lab ID, the address foreign key again. And so it's the same as you did for the street address lab, the same pretty much, right? The same join here to get back to the address, joining on address to contact. And then you also see here the subselect back to the common lookup table to get the common lookup value for home, right, that this is his home telephone number, and there you have the rest of it. Okay, okay, so that's more complex code that that I'm just going to give you that code for those inserts here. Okay. Let me go to the rental item table here at the end. And so when you insert into the rental item lab table, you have the identifier, the sequence generator, next val, and then you have a foreign key to the rental table and then a foreign key to the item table. How do you match on those, right? So to the rental table, we match on just match on checkout date. Okay, so in your rental table right now, checkout date uniquely identifies that rental. And then for the lab ID, match on the title, and here he's got the release date also. I think if you match on that the titles are unique, you can just match on the title. You'll still get the right item lab ID value. Okay. All right. So. Then when you get to step 11, just follow that line by line and use the curval function. You can use that instead of having to do these joins back to discover what these foreign keys are. And step 11 is the way in reality that you will want to do your inserts. You take those dependencies and you do them in sequence, and take advantage of that curval function. Okay, so that's it for this one. Let me know if you have any questions. Get with Josh, right? I really encourage you. Get with Josh. He can really help out a lot too. Okay, all right. We'll call it good for now.